All right, perfect. Well, thank y'all for joining our workshop today. We've got a pretty good turnout, so I'm excited about that. So a quick update real quick. We do have all of our kits in. So I've been coordinating with teachers all week and the past week or two. So if you haven't gotten your kit, I'm making some runs out tomorrow. If I haven't emailed you, please email me because we need you to get those as soon as possible. But I will say, once you dedicate time to building the robot, the ROV, like it'll go by pretty quickly. The biggest thing is going to be the circuits and also your frame. And so that's kind of why we want to highlight that today. And then we'll talk about some other stuff. We hit the agenda. Next slide.
Yeah, I also gave you screen control.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, I'm Sharon, by the way. If this is your first time joining our workshop, our team is here. We're just missing Thais, and I think James also, yeah, he's out. He has appendicitis. Okay, so today we'll highlight the frame. We'll talk about the practice circuit boards and also the control box and kind of the difference between the two. And then we'll kind of talk about soldering and our soldering plan for you as teachers and also your students. And then we'll talk about getting your ROV into the water, and then our competition updates. I'm super excited. And some upcoming milestones for you, and then a Q&A session. So if y'all have any questions, bring them on. Yeah, so let's get started. I did leave the Scout manual attached to this one as well, so if y'all need it, it's there. I don't think I have control. Okay, perfect. So Tylen, I wasn't sure, do you want to talk about the frame design for us?
Yeah, it's just I can talk about it for a little bit. So definitely with the frame design, the biggest part about this when y'all are designing, you want to ask your team or have the team ask different questions to themselves. You know, how big do we want our actual robot to be? How small do we want it to be? Do we want to be symmetrical? What type of pipe we want to put here with the PVC? How we want it to actually construct it? So these are different things you want to ask yourself, your team as well want to ask themselves. Also too, you want to make sure that your robot that you design reflects the actual team itself. Make sure to tell them, hey, is this something that you can stand behind? Are you guys proud of it? Is it something that's kind of innovative? Do you guys enjoy all the things you're doing? Do you want to change something? Definitely have them to evaluate their robot design and figure out if they want to continue the process they're going, or maybe reevaluate a couple of things, and make sure the most thing involved, make sure they're having fun during the process, because it's always a lot of fun doing this, but make sure that they are very proud about what they're doing as a company, because they're going to be a company and they're going to be presenting this product to MAID.
Sorry, it's delayed. Okay, maybe I didn't hit it. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah. Also here, you can see different designs. If you see that too, when we talk about them being a company, if you look at a couple of these designs, a couple of these teams decorated their actual robot itself. That's a lot of fun there to make it their own and make it unique. So these are different things you guys can take in consideration when building your robot, how to make it stand out and be unique to your own team. We can move on to the next slide. Okay, finally here with the frame designs, there's a couple of other things you need to take in consideration, okay? Because for example, with step number 2, we're gonna go through it a little bit. All the RVs will have the same motor and thrust power. So if you make your motor, you know, your actual robots, your RV, very large, it might not move as swiftly as a smaller ROV. So things you want to take in consideration: the planning, the design first. Plan out how you're going to go about your actual robot design. And then through the process there where the kids are actually taking notes and say, hey, we might need to reevaluate this because our robot's not doing the functions we want it to do. Also too, definitely take in the actual framework itself. You know, for example, that when air pressure kind of gets into there, it would change the buoyancy of the actual robot. So it's a couple of things you want to take in consideration. Also with the PVC, how to put it correctly when gluing it. So it's a vast amount of things. The biggest thing here I would say is just make sure you're taking your time and starting early and prepping, because preparation is going to be the biggest thing, because you're going to run into things on competition day as well. But from what I've learned from previous experience with other competitions, if you really start early, developing your robot, constructing your robot, then those things that you will come across on competition day, you'll know how to handle it. Your team will as well know how to handle it as a team and will be able to persevere.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Mhm.
On this slide, sorry, let me go back. On this slide, I also added this mate frame design presentation link. It kind of dives deeper into some of this frame design work. But this number 5, where it says set screws instead of glue, you can kind of see that in this picture. When you use PVC glue in these connections, we got two mouths. Okay. When you add PVC glue in between those connections, like it can make it really brittle, and you don't want your frame to fall apart. But you also, if you just push in the PVC into the joint, like it may come apart in the water as well. So they set screws in and they just kind of like lock it in together. So there are different ways you can do it. And as you see, like they also have like these open ends, so they're not closed off. And this is to allow the water to rush in. They can get all the bubbles out, and they know that the flotation devices that they added on top, that's what's causing their buoyancy and creating the right buoyancy for them. Because if it is full of air can leak out through those joints, and what you put in at 1 second may be completely different in 5 minutes. And next thing you know, your thing is sinking. So just keep that in mind when you are building your frame. Okay, let's move on. Possible. Okay, so practice circuit boards and the control box. So when you get your kits, you're going to get 2 different things. The first thing is going to be a practice circuit board, and it's going to be small. This is what it looks like. This is one that I built on the bottom. And so I want y'all to look at this before you look at the control box, because you have to solder both of them. And once you solder the control box, like there's no going back. So you want to practice first. And so that's why we give you this little circuit board. And it comes with an LED light and a switch, and you can quickly determine if it works or not with a battery. So it is provided with the kit. It's just a miniature size printed circuit board. On one side, it's got all the, I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's got all the words to tell you, what goes where. And you're going to use this to practice your soldering skills. So we will talk more about you getting soldering irons and stuff like that. But I do want to talk about what a printed circuit board is, because again, I'm very new to circuits as well. Like I don't have a big history with it. So I want y'all to, teach the kids about it as well. But a printed circuit board, they're found in everything, like most electronic devices. That's just how we make things now. It's very cost effective. But it uses conductive tracks instead of wires. And so it's like etched into these copper sheets and then laminated onto these non-conductive surfaces. And so they add in these electrical components, and the etchings make like the current flow through it. So Google and YouTube will be your best friends when coming to all this if you don't know much about it yourself. There is a link here at the bottom. It is the practice circuit board instructions. Everything I get is going to be from the Mate Educate website or the Mate ROV competition website itself. Some of it can be a little hidden, but if you just keep clicking through things, you can find everything that I'm adding in. But I do add it in for quick access. But if you need something right away, just email me and I can send it to you. Okay, so that's the practice circuit board. So when we come to help you, this is what we're going to work on with you as well. And then if my controls work, I'll go to the next slide. All right, the control box. So this is what's actually operating your ROV. So that's why you want to practice first, because once you start on this, like there's really no going back unless you just completely replace your circuit board. So we want the students to have a little bit of hands-on experience with the soldering skill before moving on to their actual product. And so this is the control box. It comes with a ton of connectors and capacitors and all these little pieces. And there are instructions. I don't know why it's multicolored down here, but there are instructions, there are videos specific to the pufferfish control box that are going to be super helpful. And then the last link is going to be splicing wires and soldering wires together, like multiple wires. Yes, and so I also listed the time required. It will depend on how advanced your students are. They may need more time, they may not need like any time. So when soldering practice with just a small practice board, I would give up to an hour. It shouldn't take that long. The power system will take about 20 minutes. The control system, which is the control box, will be about 3 hours. Just because, and I'll say, because if you look at this printed circuit board, there are a ton of things that you have to connect on here. And when you solder, it's going to be all these tiny little silver dots that you see on the circuit board. Like you are taking either lead-based solder or non-lead-based solder, and you're melting it and connecting these wires to it, or these little resistors and stuff that you poke through these pre-drilled holes. So it can be kind of time consuming, making sure everything's lined up. And then the tethering system will take about 30 minutes. The propulsion, like the propellers, attaching all those, so making sure they're wired, about 45. And then you want to troubleshoot everything, so you know if you have problems. Okay. And that's
Sharon, just a question here. So I'm seeing that control system 3 hours. Does that need to be 3 consecutive hours, or is that something that you can break up?
No, oh, that's a good question. This is definitely something you can break up. Like when you're building this, as long as you know like what you've done and what you haven't done, you'll be fine. Time management is going to be a big part with this control box, and that's why we need everyone to get their kits as soon as possible. But once you start, like you can take a break, because and we can come out to you multiple times if you need help with the soldering. But I would block out like each session about an hour, and it may not even take 3 hours, but that's a good estimate for, I think, the younger students. You want to give them the time to go slow on this, because this involves a really hot iron, like up to like 400 degrees Fahrenheit hot. And so we want to go slow and make sure everyone's is safe and doesn't burn themselves. But yes, you can break it up into multiple sessions if you need to, for sure. And I know 3 hours can be difficult with students all in one session. So that was a very good question. Okay. I'm trying to go to the next slide. Okay, so now I want to talk about soldering. I mentioned it a couple of times, and maybe it's new to you, maybe it's not. Soldering, it is a skill, and so if you've never soldered before, it's gonna be a lot harder for you than if you have. It's something that you get better with as time goes on and the more practice you get. But soldering is going to be really important with your control box, because if you don't solder that joint just right, it could cause your circuit board to malfunction and it doesn't complete the circuit. So yeah, so practice first on the circuit board so you can tell whether or not you've got a good joint, and once the students feel comfortable, they can move on to the circuit board or the control box, the main one. I'm trying to get rid of this. Okay, there we go. Okay. So we won't replace your control box. Just keep that in mind. And then you can order a new circuit board if you need to, but they are $30. And I don't know how long it would take to come in. So go slow, don't rush this part, because if you can't maneuver your ROV, you probably won't do too well at the competition. And we are here to help you on this as well. We've got a plan set up so everyone will be able to solder stress-free, hopefully. But there are some tips. So you don't want the solder from one hole to touch a nearby hole. And these are all different types of soldering examples, I guess you can say. But you really want it to look kind of like a Hershey kiss. So this one is really good. You can still kind of see the wire at the top. This is also okay, but I would say if you end up with too much, it could bleed over to the next hole. And that you don't want, because now you're connecting two holes instead of just the one. So keep that in mind. And also when you solder, when the solder gets hot, fumes are released, and just be careful. Like, it can be harmful to your eyes and lungs. Like, we have to be very, very safe when dealing with solder and soldering irons. But we do recommend that y'all wear safety glasses, wash your hands, because some of the solder is lead-based. I don't remember if the solder that we bought is lead-based, but I think it is. And yeah, so this is kind of what soldering looks like. You have your iron, you've got your piece of solder, which is probably lead-based. And then this is the LED, and it's got these wires, and they put them through the two different holes that they're trying to connect. And then you melt the solder into this Hershey kiss shaped connection. So there's also this link down here on how to solder the printed circuit boards. I have put as many instructions in here as I can, but we can also come out to help you. Okay, so our soldering plan, hosted by the Hub. Oh, this is also an example of an ROV frame design. Okay, so we could do either ambassador assisted soldering. So this means we come out to you, we bring you the soldering iron and the solder, and we kind of go step by step with you or help you and your students. And we decided to do this because I was talking to a teacher, and she mentioned that her students aren't able to handle things like soldering irons because of safety restrictions. And I understand that, because they're very hot, and I don't want a kid waving around this hot flaming iron wand as well. So if that's the case, definitely reach out to us when you're ready to solder, and we will come out with a soldering iron, the solder itself, and we will walk you through the process. And either you, the teacher, if the students aren't able to, can solder, or we can solder and help you. And then if not, we have the non-assisted soldering, and we can just drop off the soldering iron if you don't have one. We can bring you some solder if you need it, and you can keep it for a short time. We only have so many soldering irons. I think we have about 5. So we kind of, if you decide that you want a soldering iron, go ahead and use it, and then let us know so we can get it back and give it to another school. So we're going to do our best to try and get everyone taken care of as soon as possible. If you're not sure, how do I choose? Well, if a student or teacher has never soldered before, you're going to need us. If you don't trust your students with hot and dangerous objects, you're going to want us there. And then if your school doesn't allow students to handle hot and dangerous objects, we will be there. So just let us know when you're ready to solder, and we'll bring you the soldering iron. We also have heat guns for when you need a waterproof as well for the tethering system. So when you work on the tethering system, you'll have to splice some wires. So you'll remove like the outside, and then it'll be like a group of wires, and you twist them together and you solder them together. And then you cover it with this heat or this material that kind of like shrinks. It's like shrink wrap. You apply heat and it shrinks. And so that's what the heat gun will be for. Okay, so now that y'all know about that, we'll talk about getting in the water. So I am excited to say that Miss Levita, our project coordinator, has ordered a pool, or is in the process today of ordering a pool for us. So we're going to have it set up at the University of Memphis. And I think we decided that May 15th will be the best time, because you'll still need to build your ROV. So beginning May 15th, y'all can start reserving spots or time slots with us, and you can bring your team out to us and like get your ROV in some water. So the pool, it'll be about 4 feet deep, and if she orders the same one, I think it's like 7 feet long. So we'll set up some props. It may not be the full setup because I'm not sure how much space we'll have in the pool, but it will at least give your students the chance to like challenge their basic operations and being able to lift something up. And we will try and keep it as close to the mission task as possible. But at the competition, I think we're also going to have a practice area there with the full setup. So they'll have a little extra time with the full setup. But the goal is to let each student drive, determine if your ROV is going to be buoyant, if it's going to sink, or if it's going to just float at the top, because you want something in the middle. And then you'll also figure out if your ROV is waterproof. Do your best to make sure it's waterproof. And then we also want the entire company to become proficient with the product, because this is something they're trying to sell. And if you don't know your product and how it works, you're not gonna be able to talk about it the same way. So that's why we want each student to drive it. And this is also a good way to find your strongest operator or driver, because once you're competing, you want the best people in the best spots. So if you have one kid who just is amazing at driving, this is a good way to find that person. Also, it'll just be a great learning experience. Even if you don't end up competing, you know, at least you got it in the water, you got to drive it around. And it's also fun and stress-free. So if we just let y'all come to the competition without any practice, like that puts a lot of stress on the kids because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to operate this vehicle underwater. They've never put it underwater. So this is a fun way for them to kind of bond as a team and company and get to know their product. So we're excited about that. Okay, competition updates. So we are excited to announce that our competition will be held at the Fogelman downtown YMCA. If you've never been there before, it's down on Madison Avenue. We pretty much have like 3 floors to ourselves, I think is how it's going, because the venue is split level. So you kind of walk in and it's this main area. That's where we will do the COVID check-ins, making sure everyone's got a mask, you know, take their temperature, all that stuff. And then there's an upstairs area. In that room, we're going to have everyone, like all the teams have their own little zones taped off, and they can kind of sit there, work on their ROV if they need to. And then we'll probably, I don't know if we're doing awards up there. We may move the award ceremony to a different location. We're not sure yet. And then if you go downstairs, that's where the pool's at. That's where we'll have our snacks held and our lunch and all that stuff. So we're really excited. The only thing is the pool zone's max occupancy is 20 people in the actual pool room, not the whole place. And so it's strictly going to be teams and the judges, and yeah, that's how that's going to go. But and I want Jake to talk about this a little bit, if you will, Jake. But will you talk about like the no spectators part?
Sure. So yeah, no spectators. Most of that is just a COVID rule that the Y has with that 20 people occupancy in the pool room. That's a COVID thing. So if, you know, restrictions lighten and stuff, that could increase. So for that reason, you know, we're going to have 5 or 6 judges, and then, you know, a couple teams in there at a time, and our scuba divers. So we don't really have, you know, space in there for spectators. So I don't know what exactly you want me,
No, you're
or
fine.
what your question was.
Well, okay, so let me ask this. Like if a team, you know, decides last minute that they can't compete, or maybe they don't register, like would they still be able to come and like view like what's going on? Or have we decided to keep it strictly just the teams and
We have not decided that yet. A lot of that's gonna I think we'll make that decision closer to the time, because we'll know where COVID is better then.
Okay.
So I would say stay tuned on that.
Okay, perfect. So we'll keep y'all updated on that. yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. We should have a TV because the pool can only have so many people in it. We're gonna try and like videotape and have like a live screen so other people and other students can see what's going on, or maybe the rest of their team. So we are looking forward to that. I also want to talk about, if my screen will change, some deadlines coming up. Maybe. Okay, here we go. So deadlines, and y'all will have access to this presentation as well. So at the top, I put to be determined just because it will be sometime after May 29th, but we're not sure exactly when because the engineering presentations are judged by a panel of professionals and we're still lining them up. So we don't have an exact date for when the engineering presentations will be, but that is the live interview in front of a panel of working professionals. And yeah, so that will be the company, the student company, talking with professionals, and they'll kind of go back and forth in an interview fashion and talk about their product. So May 15th is when we decide the pool reservation is going to open. So you're going to schedule a team practice at the U of N with us. And then we're going to close that June 8th because our competition day is on June 12th and we need a few days in between that. So May 21st is when team registration closes. Jake, did we actually get it set up today or are we still waiting?
Yeah, so I'll say something about this. This registration will be on the MATE website that we have not opened. There's some things that we have to work out on the MATE side for registration to open. So May 21st will be the last day for you to register your team. So, you know, you just reserve, we have this many teams coming. Later, and we could maybe even extend this all the way up to competition day, would be the individual student registration. So you could say, you know, by May 21st, we're going to have a team, and then later finalize who exactly the members are on that team. So that registration should be up early next week. We're almost done communicating with the MATE people about getting that set up. But yeah, that'll be on the official MATE website. So that won't be on our website.
And that'll be the Mid-South registration, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. So we're looking forward to that. So yeah, we're just going to close the team registration on May 21st. And that is for us because hosting a competition during COVID, we have to be able to schedule everyone. So every team will kind of have like a time slot for when they come in and compete. That way we can follow the COVID guidelines with occupancy. So we need to know how many teams are actually going to compete. But all you have to do is register a team, and you know your team can be however big you want it to be, and you can add or remove students as you need to until I guess until the last day. So May 29th is a big day for y'all to remember. All of the deliverables are due. So your company spec sheet, your technical report, and the marketing display if you decide to do that. So go ahead and mark that on your calendars because we're going to give those to our panel of judges that we end up finding, and they are going to be the ones to score all of that along with the engineering presentations. And that's why I said engineering presentations are going to be sometime after May 29th because I don't want to make it before 29th because the deliverables aren't even due. So have all that stuff taken care of and ready to give to us by May 29th. And then June 11th, that is the day before competition. And so this will be a Friday. We're going to have safety inspection at Memphis or the University of Memphis. All the teams will have to attend. It's a really important day. This is making sure that your ROVs are safe and ready for the water. So this is the official MATE safety inspection part of the competition. We're just doing it the day before. Dennis and his team, they're out in Kingsport. They're going to come and help us run the safety inspection and the competition day. And then June 12th, which is Saturday, is going to be our competition day. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It might be a little hectic, but we're all going to get through it and we're going to have a good time. So competition day, we're still pinning down the hours because it's coordination with the YMCA, but it should be kind of an early morning, hopefully to a late afternoon. So we will give more details out as they come in, but we do want to let y'all know, like, we do have these dates set in stone. So make sure you will be competition ready, because we want as many people and students there in schools as we can get. And we're here to help you. So if you need help figuring out the company spec sheet, or you need help trying to figure out your technical report, just let us know and we'll do our best to help you. Okay, let me click next. My controls don't work. Oh, so this actually popped up in our base camp like maybe like a week or two ago. So this is the 2021 t-shirt design for the MATE competition. And so they have a couple different t-shirt colors going on, but we are probably going to have a bunch of these shirts for the schools and kids. We are still trying, which is also why we need to know how many teams are registering and how many students you have. So yeah, look out for this shirt. And then the front will actually say MATE ROV competition, and they'll say the Mid-South because that's our region. So I'm excited about those. It looks really cute. Okay, so upcoming milestones, just letting you know, competition day is around the corner. This last month is going to go by pretty quickly. So if you haven't started the ROV, everything that we've done up until now can be done without actually having your kit. So if you've kept up with that, you should be fine. But we're getting kits out. Hopefully everyone will have them by tomorrow. I'm going to be running around trying to make sure everyone has everything they need. So if you are missing anything or need something, whether it's a tool or whatnot, let me know and we'll do our best to help you, because we want everyone to have a fun time doing this. So upcoming milestones, as soon as possible, get your pufferfish kit if you don't have it. I can do pickup, I can meet you at the university, or I can deliver it to your school. Let me know. April 30th through May 9th. So by the end of the month, I want y'all to really work on the systems module in the MATE Educate website. And that's pretty much covering the power, control, tether, propulsion systems, and troubleshooting. So it's very time consuming, but it's literally the biggest part of the ROV. So once you take care of this, you pretty much have what you need to get in the water. The biggest part will be getting a hold of a soldering iron and your heat gun. So let us know when you need us to come out there and we'll do it. We're here for you. Textbooks readings, I'll send those out either today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow because it's almost 5 o'clock. May 15th through the 29th. May 15th is when the pool reservation opens. So we're gonna have some time slots for y'all. Let us know what days and times works best for your team. I want everyone there. And you know, you can do multiple reservations too. So if you want to have, like, if your team is ready and they want to start coming out 3 or 4 times throughout that time, that's fine. The more practice they get, the better. So you let us know what you need and we will take care of you. And then make sure on the 29th that they get the technical company spec sheet and marketing display into us. And then they need to start practicing their engineering presentations. It's a lot of information, but if you just follow the MATE Educate modules and the pufferfish instructions, y'all will be fine. The biggest thing will just be the soldering irons and heat guns, the dangerous stuff. Okay, next, thanks. Okay, so questions, please ask away. I love how many teachers we have on today. It's great to be able to talk back and forth. So let me have them. Any concerns?
What's the
I do have a quick question. The modules that you want us to complete, is this something that we have to We have to create an account on the MATE website?
Yeah, so it's the Mate Educate. So it's educate.mate. Educate.mate something. I'll post it up here in a minute. And then, so to get the password, all you do is take a survey. They just want to know who's accessing their information in their files. Jake just put it up on the thing.
All right, thank you very much.
The chat. If you want, I'll share my screen real quick. Okay, let me go. I'll pull it up. You can see my browser, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm actually already, it remembers my password, so I think I'm already logged in. But this is what it looks like. And when you come up here to the instructors and mentors, you can access the pufferfish. And it shows you all of this stuff. So the complete instruction guide, which I put in links all over the place, that's where you can find it. And then, but these are the modules I'm talking about. They're just blue. And it kind of tells you how much time you're going to need. And the textbook readings, I will say they're not necessary. It's just extra conceptual ideas and backgrounds. So if they want more, if they want to learn more, like the textbooks are a really good place for that. And so we've been sending out like the textbook chapters and stuff like that. But this is the one that we're going to be starting. So it's very time consuming, but there's just a lot, but they're all different pieces and parts. And so some of these have activities, like the practice board, you will have the soldering wires activity. Okay, so this just tells you how to do it. And I think this is one of the links I added in. So it's a lot of instructional and informational stuff. They have MATE has their own presentations on a lot of this stuff. And so you can find them in here. And so that's why I've been following this, because they have additional resources for you. But I'm trying to think how, okay. I'm automatically logged in. So I hadn't saved my password, but it's going to give you a really weird password. Write it down or take a picture of it, because you can't change it. So yeah, that's that website. But yeah, all you have to do is take a survey. It's just so they have for their records who's accessing their material and how many people they're reaching out to. Any other questions?
What is your maximum students per team? Have you decided what that is yet?
Jake, I don't think it matters.
So there's no maximum students per team. On the actual product demonstration, there can only be 4, like who actually go to the pool and do the thing. But as far as students, like building the robot, practicing on it, doing the presentation and the marketing thing, if they do that, no, there's no limit there.
Yeah, so if you want to have your entire class be involved in this, you can. But like Jake said, when it comes to driving it in the pool, we can only have 4 at a time. But your team may have multiple sessions at the pool. So they may get to drive their ROV maybe like 2 or 3 times. And so you can swap out their teams. So you could potentially have like 12 kids that get to drive the robot in the water.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions?